My name is Patricia Richard, 26 years old. The city looked like a circuit board from my corner office, neon lights blinking in the fog. Traffic pulsing in patterns only someone obsessed with systems could love. I was reviewing quarterly reports when a Facebook notification slid across my phone screen. Normally, I'd ignore it, but the preview text froze me, finally blocking my toxic sister. Family is better without her drama. My hand hovered midair. The soft hum of the AC filled the silence as I opened the post. There it was. My sister Emma, smiling in her profile picture, had written 3 paragraphs about letting go of negative energy. Underneath 43 likes, 17 comments, all cheering her on. Proud of you, girl. Protect your peace. Family doesn't always mean blood. I leaned back slowly in my leather chair. The skyline shimmered outside the glass, distorted by the rain that had just started to fall. The irony wasn't lost on me. While Emma called me toxic, she had no idea the family disappointment she'd cut off was the CEO of Meridian Tech Solutions, the very company that had just offered her a marketing director job she'd been chasing for 2 years. I didn't comment, didn't defend myself. I'd learned long ago that explanations are wasted on people determined to misunderstand you. Instead, I reached for my phone. Jennifer, I said when my assistant picked up, "Can you come to my office for a moment?" A minute later, she walked in, poised, efficient, with a nervous smile. "Everything okay?" "Almost," I said, turning the monitor so she could see the open Facebook post. "I need you to resend the job offer we extended to Emma Torres yesterday." Her brows knitted. Emma Torres. She was one of the best candidates we've interviewed this quarter. The team loved her. "I know." Jennifer hesitated. "Is there an issue with her qualifications?" "There's a conflict of interest." "What kind?" "She's my sister." Jennifer blinked. "Your sister, but her last name?" "Different fathers. I use my mother's maiden name." Jennifer's eyes widened. "Oh, she doesn't know I'm the CEO," I continued quietly. "She thinks I'm still freelancing from my apartment downtown." Jennifer's surprise softened into something more human curiosity mixed with empathy. "So she has no idea?" "None. She publicly called me toxic this morning." Jennifer read the post again, the color draining from her face. "Oh, wow." "Exactly." "You want me to rescind the offer?" "Yes. Tell her the position has been eliminated due to budget restructuring." Jennifer hesitated again. "Are you sure you want to do that? It's not exactly her fault she doesn't know." I'm sure I said sharper than intended. Then quieter, I can't have a senior employee who thinks the company's founder is poison. The rain intensified, tapping the windows like impatient fingers. Jennifer nodded, standing to leave. "I'll take care of it." "Thank you." When she was gone, I let my mask slip. For a long moment, I just stared at the city below, the lights blurred by raindrops. Emma's words replayed in my head, toxic sister. It was almost funny how roles had reversed. She used to defend me when we were kids. When Dad's temper flared, Emma would stand between us, fierce and trembling. She'd whisper, "It's okay, Lex. I've got you." Somewhere between then and now, I've got, "You had turned into you're toxic." 30 minutes later, Jennifer knocked softly. "It's done," she said. I called her. Told her the position was eliminated due to budget constraints. How did she take it, I asked, though I already knew. She was devastated, tried to ask if there might be other opportunities later. I told her we'd keep her resume on file. "Good," I said simply. Jennifer lingered at the door. "Alex, are you okay?" I met her eyes. For a second, I almost said no, but then I remembered the likes and comments, the years of polite dismissal at family dinners, the careful silence I'd wrapped around my success like armor. "I'm fine," I lied. After she left, I opened Facebook again. Emma's post had grown. Now over 60 likes with relatives chiming in. "You don't owe toxic people your peace. Sometimes the best family is the one you choose. Cut the negativity, girl." Among the names was Cousin Mark writing, "This is why you were right to block Alex. Toxic people bring bad luck even from a distance." I exhaled slowly. Bad luck. That's what I was to them. At 3 p.m. my phone buzzed Mom. "Patricia, honey. I just saw Emma's post," she began. Her voice threaded with forced calm. "She's upset about that job. She thinks maybe you somehow jinxed it." I almost laughed. "She's blaming me for a job being eliminated." "Well, she's having a hard time," Mom sighed. "You know how dramatic she can be when things don't go her way." "She called me toxic this morning, Mom. She didn't mean it personally." "How do you not mean that personally?" Mom paused then, in that soft, guilt-weaving tone she'd perfected. "Maybe you could reach out to her, sweetie. Be the bigger person." Why would I reach out to someone who just announced the family is better off without me? Because she's your sister. Family is more important than social media. Is it? I murmured, because she seems to think the opposite. Alex, don't be petty. I stared out at the storm and whispered mostly to myself, I'm not being petty. I'm finally respecting boundaries. When the call ended, I sat in the quiet hum of the office, the glow of the monitor painting my face in cold light. The city outside blurred into a gray ocean of movement, countless people all trying to prove something to someone who'd already decided what they were. I closed the Facebook tab, muted my phone, and whispered the only words I allowed myself that day. If she wants life without me, let's see how it feels. The next morning, the rain had stopped, but my phone hadn't. Notifications kept buzzing, each one another reminder of how fast digital whispers travel in a family that rarely speaks in person. Emma's post had tripled in engagement overnight, 79 likes, 33 comments. I scrolled, without emotion, until I saw the words that made my jaw tighten. I tried to help her for years, but you can't save someone who enjoys playing the victim. Emma's comment, on her own post, about me. For a long moment I just stared. The cursor blinked over the write a comment box. I could have typed a dozen things, truths, receipts, the company registration in my name, but I didn't. The silence felt sharper. At 10 a.m., Mom called again. Alex, can we talk about this Facebook thing? There's nothing to talk about, I said, turning in my chair to face the city view. She's hurt. Losing that job was a big blow. I smiled thinly. Apparently, I'm responsible for both her unhappiness and the economy. Patricia, Mom's voice softened. You know how your sister gets when she's stressed. I know how she gets when she's wrong, I said quietly. She sighed. I just don't want this to ruin the family. It already has, Mom. You just didn't notice when it happened. Silence. Then almost pleadingly, you two used to be inseparable. I closed my eyes, remembering Emma teaching me to ride a bike, yelling, don't look back. Lex, keep going. And me wobbling forward, terrified but trusting her voice. Now that same voice was broadcasting to the world that I was a disease to cut out. People change, I murmured. When the call ended, I opened Meridian's HR files and quietly removed Emma's application from our system. I stared at her resume before deleting it, clean, polished, ambitious. The same traits she used to accuse me of lacking. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. That evening, the office was empty, except for the low hum of computers and the faint scent of coffee gone cold. I sat alone under the fluorescent lights, replaying the week. Emma's rejection email must have reached her by now. I pictured her reading it, eyes widening, heart sinking, maybe even crying. A small part of me, the part I hated, found satisfaction in that. But beneath it was something worse, regret. Because once before the distance and the labels, I had loved her fiercely. By nightfall, the family group chat was buzzing again. Cousin Mark. That's what happens when you push away good people, Emma. The universe balances things. Aunt Marisol. Maybe this is a sign to focus on yourself, sweetie. Uncle Victor. Sometimes bad energy blocks blessings. Keep praying. They meant me, of course. Every line about negative energy was code for Patricia. When I didn't respond, Mom texted privately. Alex, please don't disappear. We're still a family. I typed families talk to each other, not about each other, then deleted it. No point. The next day, Jennifer peeked into my office. You wanted me to follow up on Emma Torres' status. No need, I said. Consider it closed. She hesitated, then asked softly, Alex, do you ever miss your family? I looked up from my laptop. Her eyes were kind. Too kind. Missing people who never understood you, I said slowly, is like craving poison just because you recognize the bottle. She nodded, unsure what to say. Still, it must hurt. It used to, I admitted. Now it just reminds me what silence costs. She left quietly. That night, scrolling through Facebook again, I saw Emma's new post. The universe is testing me. I got my dream job, and now it's gone. But maybe it's time to let go and trust that better things are coming. Comments flooded in sympathy heart emojis, virtual hugs. But one caught my eye. You'll bounce back, Em. Some people's energy was never meant to be part of your journey anyway. It was from our cousin. And Emma replied, Exactly, I finally feel free. Free! The words stung more than I expected. Free from me. Around midnight, I sat by the window in my apartment. The city stretched below like a river of light. I poured a glass of wine and replayed her words in my head. Family is better without her drama. I whispered them aloud, tasting their bitterness. Family is better without me, I said to no one. Maybe they're right. The irony, of course, was that while she saw me as the failed sister clinging to computer stuff, I was paying the salaries of 37 employees, managing million-dollar accounts, and running a company whose name she'd just cursed. Sometimes I wondered what hurt more, her words, or knowing that the truth would only humiliate her. And yet, even as I convinced myself she deserved the lesson, I couldn't shake one memory. Emma years ago, clutching my hand at our father's funeral, whispering, "Don't cry. I'll take care of you now." I believed her. Maybe that was my first mistake. The next morning, I walked into the boardroom for a meeting and caught my reflection in the glass wall. My posture was perfect, my expression unreadable, but my eyes looked tired. Success had given me everything except the freedom to feel without consequence. As the team discussed numbers and strategies, I found myself wondering what Emma was doing at that exact moment. Probably scrolling through LinkedIn trying to pretend she wasn't broken. At 5:12 p.m., my phone buzzed again. A text from Emma. "Alex, I know we're not talking, but I really need someone to vent to. The job I was supposed to start got eliminated. Can you call me?" I stared at the screen for nearly a minute. The same fingers that had typed "toxic sister" were now reaching out for comfort. My pulse slowed. Then I typed, "I thought you blocked me because I was too toxic." Her reply came fast. "That was just Facebook drama. This is real life." "Emma, you literally posted 'The family is better without me.' You're being too sensitive. I was just upset. So when you need something from me, it's real life. But when you humiliate me, it's just social media. I'm really struggling right now. Can we please not do this?" I exhaled, then typed the last message I'd send that night. "You were right this morning, Emma. Maybe the family is better without me." And with that, I blocked her number. The city lights reflected in my wine glass looked like stars sinking underwater. Sometimes revenge doesn't come as fire or fury. Sometimes it comes as silence that finally feels deserved. 2 days passed before the silence cracked. I was in the office early watching sunlight crawl across the glass walls when my personal phone started vibrating. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, then a message flashed on screen. "Please don't hang up, Alex. It's me. I'm calling from Mom's phone." Emma. For a moment, I just stared at the text. I could almost hear her voice in my head, fast, breathless pleading. The same tone she used when we were teenagers, and she'd broken something of mine and wanted to confess before I found out. I picked up. "What do you want, Emma?" A shaky inhale. "To talk." "You lost that privilege when you turned me into a public villain." "I know," her voice cracked. "I messed up, okay? I was angry. I didn't think." "That's the problem. You never think, you just post." On the other end, she sniffed softly. "I've been having panic attacks, Alex. I can't sleep. I keep replaying everything. The post, the job offer. The one that got rescinded," I interrupted. "Yeah, that's unfortunate." She went quiet. "You sound cold." "I learned it from you." Another silence, longer this time. I could almost feel her swallowing the words she wanted to say. Finally, she whispered, "Can I explain?" "Go ahead, I'm timing you." "I wasn't talking about you specifically. When I said toxic sister, I just meant all the tension between us. I was venting." "Then why did you use the word sister?" "Because it felt real." "It was real," I said flatly. "Alex, please, I didn't think anyone would connect it to you. You tagged Mom. She has 2 daughters. How subtle did you think that was?" Emma's voice broke completely. "I'm sorry. I just wanted people to understand how suffocating our family can be. The comparisons, the guilt. I shouldn't have dragged you into it." I closed my eyes. For a moment, her honesty sounded almost like the Emma I used to know. Almost. "You didn't drag me in," I said quietly. "You threw me under the bus and then handed the world the license plate." She sobbed. "Please, Alex, I don't have anyone else to talk to." That line. She always used it every time she wanted me to drop my boundaries. "Emma," I said slowly, "you can't treat people like garbage and then expect them to be your shelter." "I know." "No, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't be calling me right now." "Can't we just start over?" she asked through tears. I laughed, bitter, humorless. "You can't rebuild trust on ashes, Emma. You need solid ground for that." "Then tell me how," she whispered. "Please, I'll do anything." I hesitated. For a split second, I imagined telling her the truth about Meridian, the job offer. The irony that her toxic sister had held her dream job in her hands. But I didn't. Not yet. "Fix yourself first," I said instead. "Then maybe we'll talk." She started crying harder. "I can't believe this is you talking. You sound like a stranger." "That's because you never really listened before. You only heard the version of me that fit your story." "Alex!" I could feel her desperation through the line. But underneath it, something else, guilt mixed with curiosity. She wasn't just sorry. She was suspicious. "You think I had something to do with your job, don't you?" I asked quietly. The pause was long. "Did you—" I smiled faintly, though she couldn't see it. "No, Emma. You did that all by yourself." She let out a trembling breath. "I just don't understand how everything fell apart overnight." "You said the universe was testing you," I said. Maybe it passed its verdict. She exhaled shakily, then I miss you. That one sentence, small, naked, disarming, cut through all my armor for a second. I heard the old Emma in it, the one who used to braid my hair before school, the one who'd sneak food into my room when I refused to come out after a fight with Mom. But the wound was still too raw. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you hit post. She sobbed softly. You don't understand, Alex. I've lost everything. My job, my friends, everyone thinks I'm cursed. I'm not your priest, Emma. I'm your consequence. The silence that followed was absolute. Then a soft click. She'd hung up. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her words. I've lost everything. It should have felt like justice. Instead, it just felt heavy. I poured myself a drink and sat by the window. The city lights flickered across the glass, distant and indifferent. In the reflection, I saw my own face strong, yes, but colder than I remembered. And for a moment, I wondered if Emma was right about one thing. Maybe we were both toxic, just in different ways. The next day, I received another text, a simple one. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I'll delete the post. True to her word, an hour later, the Facebook post vanished. But in its place, she posted something else. Sometimes we realized too late who was really on our side. Comments flooded in again. Sympathy, support. The cycle continued. Emma was still the victim, and I was still the villain. At 8 p.m., Mom called. Alex, did you talk to your sister? She called me. She says she apologized. She said words. That's not the same thing. She's been through a lot lately. Maybe give her some grace. Grace, I repeated. Mom, I've been giving grace since I was 12. Maybe it's time she learned what accountability feels like. Mom sighed. You sound just like your father right now. That landed like a punch. Wow. Low blow, Mom. I just don't want you two turning into strangers. Maybe strangers is better than enemies. Before she could respond, I hung up. Later that night, I sat at my desk, staring at the company's hiring dashboard. Emma's file was gone, but I couldn't stop thinking about it, the irony, the symmetry. How one careless post had undone everything she'd wanted, and how one quiet decision from me had made it so. I opened her old email draft, the one she'd sent to Meridian's HR after the offer. Thank you for believing in me. I promise I won't let you down. I read it twice, then closed the laptop. Maybe someday she'd learn who had really believed in her all along. But not today. Today she needed to sit in the silence she created. And me, I needed to remember that silence doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes it's just the sound of two people refusing to see each other clearly. A week later, just as I began to believe the silence might last forever, my phone buzzed again. It was an unknown number, but this time the message wasn't a plea. It was a confession. I posted something today. You don't have to read it, but it's for you. Against my better judgment, I opened Facebook. Emma had written a long apology. It wasn't dramatic or defensive this time, just raw. Sometimes we say things that don't reflect who we really are. I've been angry at the wrong person for too long. I hurt someone who didn't deserve it. I'm sorry. She didn't tag me, but everyone knew. For the first time in weeks, the comments were quiet. No heart emojis, no cheerleaders, just silence. The kind people leave when they're not sure what side to take anymore. I stared at the screen for a long time before dialing her number. She answered instantly. Alex. Yeah. A sound of relief escaped her. You called. I saw your post. I meant it, she said softly. I was wrong. About everything. Then tell me what exactly you were wrong about. About thinking I was better than you. About assuming your life was falling apart while mine was stable. She paused. About judging you just because I didn't understand your choices. The sincerity in her voice disarmed me. For the first time, there was no arrogance, no excuses, just exhaustion. You were right about one thing I said after a long pause. You don't understand me. I want to, she whispered. I took a breath. Then you should know the truth. The truth about your job offer. A quiet inhale. What about it? The company that offered it to you, Meridian Tech Solutions. Yeah, it's mine. The silence that followed was so deep I could hear the hum of the air conditioner. Yours, she finally said. What do you mean? I founded Meridian 3 years ago. I'm the CEO. That's not possible, she stammered. You're a freelancer. You do web design. I was a freelancer. I built something out of it. Her voice trembled. No, Alex, you're joking. You live in that tiny apartment because I choose to. I reinvest most of my profit back into the company. The sound that came from her was half laugh, half gasp. Oh my God. Now you know why your offer was rescinded. She fell silent again. Then softly, you took away my job. No, I said, my voice calm but cold. You took it from yourself. I can't have a senior employee who publicly calls me toxic, even if she doesn't know she's talking about her boss. Her breathing quickened. You saw that post and decided to punish me. Don't flatter yourself. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because actions have consequences, especially when you broadcast them to the world. Her voice cracked. I didn't know, Alex. I swear I didn't. That's exactly the point, I said. You never asked. You never cared to know. Because you hid everything from us, she shot back, her anger returning. You let everyone think you were barely surviving. I didn't let anyone think anything. You just never listened. There was a long, jagged silence. Then in a smaller voice, I thought you needed help. Did you ever stop to consider that maybe I didn't? No, she admitted. I didn't. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. You know what's funny? I actually recommended you for that position, anonymously. I thought you'd earned it. The line went completely still. What? You got that job because of me. Because I wanted to help you. Alex, please tell me you're not serious. I am. She made a strangled sound, half sob, half laugh. You gave me the job I lost. Yes. Why would you do that? Because I thought you deserved a chance. Her breathing turned shaky again. And then you took it back. I took back what you destroyed the moment you decided to humiliate me. I didn't mean it, she cried. I swear I didn't mean it. Maybe not, I said softly. But meaning doesn't erase impact. She was crying openly now. You could have told me. You could have said something. And what would that have changed? I would have... She stopped herself. I would have treated you differently. That's the problem. The silence between us thickened, full of things we couldn't unsay. I didn't know you were successful, she whispered. If I had, I never... Exactly, I cut in. You only respect what you recognize as power. That's not fair. It's true. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The city outside my window glowed like an electric heartbeat, its rhythm too steady for the chaos in mine. Alex, she finally said, her voice trembling, I'm sorry. Not just for the post. For years of treating you like you were beneath me. For making you feel small. I stared at the skyline, thinking about every dinner where she'd lectured me about getting a real job. Every time she'd rolled her eyes when I talked about coding or clients. Every time Mom had looked at her with pride and at me with pity. You can't erase years with an apology, I said quietly. I know, she whispered, but I still want to try. Then start by understanding this, the way you treat people. When you think they have nothing, that's who you really are. Her sobbing quieted. She didn't argue this time. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. Do you hate me? I hesitated. No. Then what do you feel? Sad, I said honestly, because I finally got what I always wanted, your respect, and it doesn't mean anything anymore. Her breath hitched. Please, Alex, can we fix this? I don't know, I whispered, but I know pretending everything's fine won't fix anything. The silence lingered again. Then quietly she said, You're not who I thought you were. Neither are you, I said and ended the call. That night I walked through my apartment, the echoes of that conversation still haunting me. Every surface gleamed, every corner, immaculate, the kind of space that looked successful but felt hollow. For the first time in years, I sat on the floor, back against the wall, and let myself feel everything I'd buried under professionalism. Anger, sadness, longing. I had finally told her the truth, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like loss. Some truths, once spoken, don't set you free. They just change the shape of your cage. The next morning, I woke up with a hangover, not from alcohol, but from the emotional kind. The kind that settles behind your ribs and hums quietly like guilt pretending to be strength. I stared at my phone for a long time. No new messages from Emma. No new posts either. The silence felt like both punishment and peace. For 3 days, nothing. Then at 2 a.m. on a Thursday, my phone lit up again. Emma, I've been thinking about what you said. You were right. I only respected you when I realized you could help me. I hate that about myself. Emma, but please know I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted to feel important for once. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally understood that responding would make me complicit in my own erasure again. For years, I had played the role of the understanding sister, the one who absorbed the insults, rationalized the favoritism, and smiled through condescension. But now I was tired of being the soft landing for someone else's recklessness. At the office the next day, Jennifer noticed my distraction. You've been staring at the same spreadsheet for 20 minutes, she said gently. I blinked, realizing she was right. Just tired, I muttered. She hesitated. Is this about the job candidate you rescinded last week? I looked up sharply. What makes you think that? The timing, she said softly. And the way you've been different lately. I exhaled. It's complicated. Family usually is. Her words lingered long after she left my office. That evening, I found myself rereading Emma's messages. The phrase, "I wanted to feel important," struck a nerve, because deep down, I knew she wasn't wrong. We'd both grown up trying to matter in a family that measured love by achievement. Mom adored Emma's degrees. Dad bragged about her stable job. Meanwhile, my success, quiet, digital, invisible, was treated like a hobby. And somewhere along the way, Emma had mistaken recognition for worth. Maybe I had too. 3 days later, she called again. I let it ring out. Then another text arrived. "I know I can't fix what I broke, but I still want to understand how to be better." This time I called back. She answered instantly. "Alex." "Yeah, I didn't think you'd call. I almost didn't." "Why did you—" "Because you finally asked the right question," I said. "You want to understand. That's new." She was quiet for a moment. "I've been doing a lot of thinking." "About what?" "About why I felt so threatened by you. I realized it wasn't your success that made me angry. It was your peace." That caught me off guard. My peace. "You never needed validation," she said. "Even when Mom dismissed your work, you didn't fight for approval. You just kept going. I hated that, because I needed everyone to see me, and you didn't." Her voice trembled. "I thought if I made you smaller, I'd feel bigger. Do you know how rare it is to hear you say that?" I finally asked. "I do now," she said quietly. "I don't expect you to forgive me, Alex, but I hope someday you'll believe I'm trying." There was something in her voice I hadn't heard in years. Humility. It felt strange, almost fragile. "I believe you're trying," I said carefully, "but belief isn't the same as trust." "I know," she said. "Trust takes time." "And consistency," I added. "Words don't mean much if you keep repeating the same patterns." "I'm working on it," she'd whispered. "I've started seeing a therapist, and I've been journaling. It's messy, but it's helping." I smiled faintly. "Good. Maybe you'll learn to listen to yourself before you speak next time." She laughed softly through tears. "God, you sound like Dad." "Let's hope not," I said, half smiling. The next morning, she sent me a voice message. I hesitated before pressing play. Her voice was raw, almost childlike. "You were right, Alex. Respect isn't something you owe people because of who they are. It's something you prove through how you treat them. I've spent my whole life mistaking control for care. I told myself I was being protective, but really I was just insecure. I thought if I looked down on you, I wouldn't have to look at myself. I'm sorry." When the message ended, I sat there in the quiet for a long time. I wanted to stay angry. It was easier than forgiving. But the truth was, her honesty disarmed me. That night I dreamed about us as kids again. Two sisters sitting on the curb outside our old house sharing a melted ice cream cone, giggling about nothing. In the dream, she turned to me and said, "You know I only pretend to be brave when you're around, right?" When I woke up, there were tears on my pillow. Maybe forgiveness wasn't about letting someone off the hook. Maybe it was about letting go of who you had to become to survive them. Later that week, Jennifer knocked on my door again. "Everything okay?" I smiled faintly. "Not yet, but getting there." "Good," she said. "You seem lighter today." "Maybe I am," I admitted. I finally stopped carrying someone else's expectations like they were my own. She smiled. "That's progress." After she left, I looked out the window. The city skyline glowed in the fading light, soft and steady, no longer intimidating, just alive. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like I had to prove anything to anyone. Emma had learned the weight of respect, and maybe finally so had I. A month passed, long enough for the noise to fade, but not long enough for the scars to disappear. Emma hadn't posted anything dramatic since the apology. No subtweets, no cryptic captions about healing energy, just silence, the kind that signals something is shifting beneath the surface. Then one evening, a message appeared. "Emma, I've started volunteering with a job search nonprofit, helping people find work. It's weirdly humbling. Emma, I met a woman today who reminded me of you. Quiet, stubborn, underestimated. She built a small business from scratch. I almost cried talking to her. For the first time, I smiled reading one of her messages. It wasn't guilt-ridden or defensive. It was human. Me, that's good, Em. Keep going. Emma trying, one less ego trip at a time. The next Sunday, she asked if we could meet for coffee. I agreed cautiously. We chose a quiet cafe halfway between her apartment and my office. When I walked in, she was already there, sitting by the window with 2 drinks and an awkward smile. "Hey," she said, standing up a little too quickly. "Hey," I replied, sliding into the seat across from her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The sound of clinking cups and low jazz filled the silence. "You look good," she said finally. "So do you?" I lied. She looked tired, not in a shallow way, but in the kind of way that comes from carrying a mirror and finally deciding to look into it. We talked about neutral things first. Work, Mom's garden, the ridiculous rent hikes downtown. But eventually, we both ran out of small talk, and the real conversation began. I didn't realize how cruel I sounded, she said suddenly. When I used to talk down to you. I tilted my head. What changed? She stirred her coffee. Perspective. The people I help at the nonprofit, they remind me that not everyone's path is visible. Some of them are geniuses who just never got the chance to be seen. Her eyes met mine. Like you. I didn't respond right away. There was nothing to say that wouldn't sound self-righteous or bitter. Instead, I asked, "Do you like helping them?" I love it, she said, and for once I believed her. It feels like I'm actually useful without needing to prove it. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. What's this? She slid it across the table, a thank you card. For the opportunity I ruined. I raised an eyebrow. You didn't have to. I did, she said firmly, because I need to take responsibility for the mess I made. You gave me something incredible, and I threw it away before I even knew what it was. Her voice wavered. You didn't owe me that job. You didn't owe me anything, but you still believed in me. I opened the card. Inside was a short, handwritten note. You once said respect is the real test of character. I'm learning to pass it now. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I deserved it. I stared at the ink bleeding slightly on the paper. It wasn't perfect, a few words scratched out smudged, but it was real. For the first time, I let the wall drop just a little. You're growing up, huh? Emma laughed through her tears. Took me long enough. We talked for hours about everything we'd never dared to before, about the way our parents had made competition feel like love, about how we both internalized it, me by running faster, her by climbing higher. At one point, she admitted I always thought you were lazy, but really you were just building something I couldn't see. And I thought you were arrogant, I said, but maybe you were just afraid. She nodded. We were both afraid, just in different languages. By the time we left the cafe, the sky had gone indigo. She walked me to my car, shivering in the cool evening air. Hey, Alex, she said, hesitating before she spoke again. Do you ever wish things had been different, that we hadn't gone through all that? I looked at her, really looked at her, the sister I'd hated, pitied, loved, and lost a dozen times over. No, I said finally. If we hadn't broken, we'd still be pretending. She smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. That's the most Alex thing you could have said. I smiled back. And what's that supposed to mean? That you turn pain into logic. Someone has to, I said softly. She laughed, and for the first time, it didn't sound defensive. It sounded free. That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about the pattern we'd finally broken. The one where success had to mean superiority. The one where family meant endurance instead of understanding. It took years of resentment, one viral Facebook post, and a rescinded job offer to get here. But maybe this was the only way it could have happened. Some people learn through love. The rest of us have to learn through loss. 2 months later, the message came from Mom. Dinner Sunday night. Your father and I want both of you here. No excuses. It wasn't a request. It was an order disguised as warmth. Emma texted me right after. Emma. You think she knows me about what Emma about? Everything. Me. Probably not. But she will. I stared at my own reflection in the office window, the city stretching beneath me like an empire of lights. For years, I'd hidden the truth, not because I wanted to lie, but because I wanted to see who loved me without the glitter of success. Now it was time to see the result. Sunday came heavy with humidity, the kind that makes even forgiveness feel sticky. Emma drove us both there. The silence in the car wasn't tense this time, just contemplative. You sure you're ready for this? She asked as we parked in front of the old house. I'm ready for them to finally meet who I really am, I said, even if they don't like her. Emma smiled faintly. Then let's do it. Inside, Mom was bustling in the kitchen while Dad watched TV. Girls, Mom said brightly, drying her hands. It's been too long. She hugged Emma first, then me, softer, shorter. That part hadn't changed. Dinner started with laughter, awkward forced laughter, the kind families use to fill space before the truth breaks through. Finally, Dad looked at me. So, Alex, what's this big news your mother says you wanted to share? I set my fork down. It's not bad news if that's what you mean. Then what is it? I took a deep breath. For the past 3 years, I've been running my own company. It's called Meridian Tech Solutions. Dad frowned, confused. That name sounds familiar. It should, I said. You've probably seen their job postings. Emma actually applied for one of them. Dad blinked. Wait, your company? Yes. I founded it with $50,000 I saved from freelancing. We now have 37 employees and $8 million in annual revenue. Silence. Not a stunned, proud silence, a processing one. Mom's mouth opened first. You're the CEO. Yes. Dad set down his knife, and you never told us. I met his eyes. Would you have believed me? He didn't answer. Emma's hand found mine under the table, a small, steady gesture. Mom exhaled shakily. We thought you were struggling. I know, I said, and you were all so sure of it that I stopped correcting you. Dad looked uneasy. We just wanted you to have a stable life, Alex. Something safe. Stable, I repeated quietly. Like Emma's. He shifted uncomfortably. We didn't mean to compare. But you did, I said softly. All the time. Every conversation, every dinner, every subtle look. Mom's voice cracked. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Because I wanted to see how you'd treat me when you thought I had nothing. Her eyes filled with tears. That's not fair. It's not supposed to be, I said. It's supposed to be honest. For a while, no one spoke. The air conditioner hummed, filling the silence we'd all built together. Then Emma cleared her throat. Mom, Dad, Alex isn't the one who hurt this family. I am. Mom began. No, let me finish, she said, voice trembling but firm. I judged her. I talked about her behind her back. I made her feel like she wasn't enough. You both did it too, but I did it louder. Mom covered her mouth, tears spilling. Emma continued. She offered me a job at her company. I didn't know it was hers. I called her toxic on Facebook the same day I got the offer. Dad's eyes widened. You what? Emma nodded. She could have ruined me. Instead, she just let me ruin myself. I stayed silent, letting her speak. And she was right to do it, Emma said, turning toward me, because I needed to learn what respect actually means. The table went still. The only sound was the quiet ticking of the clock above the stove, a sound that had always filled our family's silences before the next argument began. But this time, no one raised their voice. Dad finally spoke, his tone subdued. We should have seen you both more clearly. We kept comparing, thinking that would make you strive harder. But it just made you hurt deeper. Mom nodded, wiping her eyes. We were so busy being proud of the daughter who looked successful that we ignored the one who was successful. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry, Alex. For a long moment, I couldn't speak. Not because I didn't forgive them, but because part of me still didn't believe they meant it. Then Emma squeezed my hand again, and I finally exhaled. Thank you, I said quietly. That's all I ever wanted for you to see me. After dinner, we sat outside on the porch. The air smelled like rain again. Emma leaned against the railing, gazing up at the sky. You did it, she said softly. Did what? Told the truth. Made them see. It only took 26 years, I said with a small laugh. She smiled. Worth it. We stood in silence for a while, watching lightning flash faintly in the distance. Then Emma said, You know what's weird? I don't feel jealous anymore. I just feel proud. That's weirder for me than it is for you, I joked. She nudged me playfully. Shut up. We both laughed, real laughter this time. No tension, no hidden competition. A week later, Emma posted something new. I used to think success meant being the one everyone admired. Now I think it's about being the one who can admire others without envy. Proud of my sister for building something beautiful and for showing me what real strength looks like. This time I didn't hesitate. I clicked like. And for the first time, that small blue thumbs up didn't feel like a gesture of irony. It felt like peace. Because sometimes the most toxic thing in a family isn't the person everyone blames. It's the assumptions we build around each other until love becomes invisible. Emma thought cutting me out would bring her freedom. Instead, it brought her face to face with the truth. The sister she called toxic was the one person who'd always been rooting for her. And me, I finally understood that you can't teach people how to respect you. You can only stop letting them forget who you are.